Subscribe.
This is the Radio Free Cybertron Saturday recap of Transformers news from Toy Fair 2015. On the line, we have Anthony Brucali. He is the man behind TFU.info.
All right. So what do you want to know?
What have you thought so far?
So far, I mean, I was worried I wasn't going to be impressed because of all the stuff that leaked ahead of time, and I got to say, it was still a lot of fun. It was still very impressive. Devastator looks so much better in person than he does in that original photo, and I'm sure you've seen a bunch of photos by now. The head looks more to scale. The weird Mixmaster foot doesn't look so weird anymore. There's a lot of things that the designer was walking us through, telling us about how like the color match, like he went through great pains to color match everything, and that the color's gonna be a little different shade of green, but it's real close.
Does it look like Devastator can stand without difficulty? Yes,
Devastator apparently can stand pretty well. He has the one they had there was glued down, so it was a production sample. It wasn't a painted sample. The individual ones were painted samples, and the production sample, it was a lot of the parts were glued into place. Someone knocked it over actually at some point.
We heard that.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you about that if you didn't bring it up.
But I'm trying to think. I was told he has really sturdy. He has like click joints in his thighs. So like the big ones, like Metroplex had. He's gonna have those big clickable thigh joints that kind of help him stand. He also has joints in his ankle, in both ankles. So that he was saying that the designer was saying you can kind of make him stand on one leg, something like he's stepping on a car, or the cars are driving under him. So it should be fairly posable. I mean, more than fairly posable. It's actually very posable. And a lot of neat little features. The weapons store into Longhall's dump truck bed. Those combine into the chest plate. And the one thing is it doesn't run... Oh, they were saying about the scales. That the scale, they wanted to do the figures to fit in scale with, the Menasor figures and the rest of Combiner Wars. So that's why they went with the new model Mixmaster with the new truck, because the older trucks wouldn't have fit to scale, and they don't really make them anymore anyway. They're not terribly modern.
That's actually a really interesting detail. I'm glad you got that for us.
Yeah, no problem.
Interesting. So, so overall, you think Devastator looks pretty promising?
Yeah, and also asked about San Diego Comic-Con. They couldn't comment, so take that what you want as you would. Whether or not we get a G2 version or whatever, I mean, basically, the designer, whose name I don't know offhand, said, I would love to geek out with you about that, but I can't.
Nice.
So there's definitely something there.
So now the question is, will it be orange or yellow?
Yeah. One specific question for you, Ant. Did you get a sense of how Devastator, where does Devastator's head go when it's separated? Does it go into Hook or Long Haul, or what happens with that?
Not offhand. You know what? I didn't even think to investigate that. It looks, I mean, it's firmly on the Hook as far as I could tell, unless it's part of that chest plate. That would be the only other place I could see it, that maybe it folds out from the chest plate and comes up.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, no, I saw it from the side. There's two hinges on it. I'm trying to mentally picture this. There's definitely two hinges on it. So I imagine it folds somewhere into Hook.
Okay, cool.
There's kind of a double hinge, like a V shape that would collapse like an accordion.
Mm-hmm.
So that must fold somewhere into Hook. I wasn't really, he was really hard to get to most of the day, and then at the end of the day, you just didn't want to go near it.
So, moving ahead to Ultra Magnus, what are your thoughts about Ultra Magnus?
Oh, it's the best news of the convention. The Ultra Magnus looks slick. The fact that it's minimus in there, they're making the IDW nods when they can, and when they feel they can do it without, sacrificing sales. It's great. The Minimus figure sits in his cab, so his cab opens up, and you can fit pretty much any Legends figure in there. They said Legends figures, so I'd assume that you fit anything Legend size in there. It's a little seat inside of his cab, and you can close it down, and the actual Ultra Magnus head rests on his head.
It looks pretty great. Generally speaking, that was pretty much our consensus for our favorite toy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'd asked the question, when was the last time we got two great Ultra Magnuses within a year? And obviously, I think the answer is, like, never. So,
yeah, when we got Shining Magnus and Cyclone Magnus.
Okay, then.
Stand corrected. So let's see here. So we're looking at photos of Ultra Magnus right now. It does look really great, and I can't wait to get my hands on that.
Did they mention release dates at all?
No mention of release date. He is leader class, so figure if Megatron's the next wave, and then Thundercracker, and then I would imagine Ultra Magnus. They didn't have any other leader class figures on display.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. What about Viper? So Viper, of course, is a Legends-sized figure, but it's one that I'm very happy about. He is, of course, the repaint of Power Glide into the Cobra Rattler. So did you get a sense of what the logo on his chest actually is? It's a Cobra symbol with a Decepticon symbol, but it has like extra wings or something.
That's exactly what it is. It's a Cobra symbol with a Decepticon symbol in the middle, and then extra wings on it to, I guess, make it neither, or to, I imagine, to somehow differentiate it from the one that was floating around a few years back.
Somebody pointed out to me that the Cobra symbol with wings is what the original Rattler had.
Interesting. Okay. I don't have one, so...
Also, a funny story about that Viper. Someone in the dealer room, who I won't name here, but actually he's probably someone known to a few of you, got thrown out for touching the figure, and the security grabbed him and kind of physically removed him from the area, and then he came back later and apologized profusely. It was
we heard about that.
Damn amusing.
Wow.
I've got pictures. I haven't. Those aren't on my phone. Those are on the good camera.
So the next toy that I wanted to ask about was Cyclonus. Cyclonus looked pretty darn great to me. What were your impressions of Cyclonus?
It's pretty sweet. It was a painted model, so they didn't really want to touch it all that much.
Diecast said that it was painted, yeah.
Yeah. Later on, I don't know if I posted the photo, but we took photos, and they were able to put his wings out for us, so that we could take photos of him with the wings turned. They would not show us the Galvatronus head, but I mean, that's coming. They said they'll just release it at a later date. I think they didn't really want to touch the figure, given it was a painted model.
Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry. During the presentation, did they show the Galvatronus head in the slideshow?
No, they showed the outline that you would see on the packaging.
Okay.
And said the name.
Actually, I had a question regarding the Galvatronus, just in general. Do you think that having this Combiner Wars Galvatronus is going to keep us from getting a proper Galvatron figure later in the line?
Probably.
Yeah. For now, yes, most certainly. I mean, it might be some semblance of a Galvatron figure when they make it. Given they wouldn't show us the head, and they were kind of holding out to do it as a reveal, I imagine it's going to look pretty Galvatron-y. And I don't know if that's tied into the IDW storyline somehow.
Guess it's back to hoping for a masterpiece again.
So another thing I wanted to mention, we've seen all of the Stunticons together, but this will be your first chance to see Minosaur in person, complete. What did you think about Minosaur together and properly transformed?
He looked real nice. You know, it's funny. He was such an afterthought until things kind of cleared out, and he was really easy to get to all day. And towards the end of the show, I said, "Oh yeah, I haven't looked at Minosaur at all." And he looks really nice. He's kind of bulky up top. He's not terribly different from the Hasbro stock photos that have been going around. The head looks a little bigger in person than some of those photos. So it looks a little better proportion. You know, it's funny because he was right next to you. It basically is, they went in order of release from the entrance. So you basically walked in the entrance, and Superion was there, and then Minosaur, then Defensor, and then Magnus, and then Devastator. So everyone kind of crowded into that far corner to see all the really new stuff. And I got to say, I didn't really take much of a look at Minosaur.
Okay. So I think the final big one that I really want to talk about, though, are the Protectobots. And
Okay.
Those were we knew those would be coming, but this was our first chance to really see these toys, like in non-drawings, etc. In general, what did you think about these?
They look phenomenal. The remolds don't look like remolds for the most part. I mean, Blades pretty much looks like Alpha Bravo in red, but he looks really nice. I mean, really, it's more of a pre-tool that it's Alpha Bravo than Blade. Hotspot looks really, really good. They worked the ladder into some of the combining pieces, so it looks like a smooth kind of transformation. The Streetwise is remolded from Dead End, and you had to look at it 3 times and go, I think that's remolded from a Decepticon. And then we went over to figure out which one it was. Let's try to work my way around here. First Aid is also remolded, looks really good. He's remolded from Off-Road. And then Rook. Oh, well, yeah, Bruce confirmed as a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice because he's kind of in scale with the rest of the team, and it's nice that they didn't leave him out. And then Rook is just actually really cool looking. He's got 5mm ports on his forearms, so next to his fists you can actually plug in other weapons. And the designer was also telling us that him and I guess either one of the Takara designers or one of the other designers were fooling around with it. Since it's a 5mm port that's on his forearm, you can take the Combiner mode hands and plug them into his forearms and kind of give him giant fists.
Huh.
Which
Cool.
which I joked that if they made him in green, you could give him Hulk hands.
That's pretty cool. So
That's great.
The combined form. What do you think of Defensor?
Defensor, he looks pretty sweet, and it's funny because we were tossing around ideas of, you could tell that you know, Hotspot is going to be Onslaught at some point. You could tell. I mean, the theory is that Rook could be Nose Cone, given all his places to do attachments. So, again, I kind of floated that out to the Hasbro designer, and he kind of said, no, it's not, without saying that they're actually doing Computron, even though they're probably doing Computron. Overall, he was, you know, he's exactly as you see in the pictures. He looks really cool. I mean, I'm big on this whole aesthetic of Combiner Wars, so it didn't take a lot for me to not be terribly happy with what they're doing.
That's awesome. Any other questions for Ant while we have him?
Ant, did you see the Robots in Disguise deployer toys up close? Like, did they demonstrate that gimmick for you?
Robots in Disguise deployers, which of those exactly?
The big ones with the minicon launchers?
Oh, yes, they were in package. Those were Drift and Fracture, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, those are there. The minicons are actually a lot more interesting than the figures. The figures are just really nice deluxe sizes. They kind of have that grid, you know, vibe that kind of gives that animated vibe. They didn't show us how they launch, but the minicons have a couple of neat features. They have their own way of connecting to the figures. Like, they have a 5mm port, and they have this little square port that's not like the old minicons where there was the 5mm port with the activation thing in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have this attach-on armor that I think you can attach onto the figures as well as the minis. And then the minis, with that armor, each one has one piece that is a Build-A-Figure, an unnamed Build-A-Figure for the entire wave. So Wave 1 has this energy, what the guy called an energy cat. Wasn't like an official name or anything, but that each part of Wave 1 has one piece that makes up this cat, kind of similar to what Trent and Cypher did with their line.
Interesting.
So
that's really interesting.
So one thing that I'm actually looking at our Facebook page right now, and one of our listeners just sent us a message, and I actually didn't think about it before. The question was, doesn't Red Prime look kind of like Star Convoy? So you saw that in person. What did you think?
He's got that foxiness to him. I keep thinking he's gonna. Every time I see it, I think he's supposed to turn into a train and not a truck. So he almost has that Optimus X Prime look to him. in some ways, but I could see the Star Convoy comparison. There was nothing, no mention of any reference to Star Convoy. The Mega Optimus Prime from RID is going to have 10 places to attach minicons, so they're trying to redo a lot of that. The minicons will debut in episode 12 of RID, and Fracture is in that episode, and it looked kind of looked really good.
And one last
Cartoon Network will probably have pulled it off the schedule by then, unfortunately.
Nice. True. One last question from a listener. The question was, how tall is Ultra Magnus?
He's leader class. He's not as he was on an island unto himself, so there wasn't much for reference. He's probably the Constructicon leaders were 9 inches tall, so they were about as tall as the original Devastator. Ultra Magnus is probably a hair taller than that. So not as tall as the Megatron figure that's coming out. Probably like Jetfire.
Okay, that helps a lot. Thank you very much. Any other questions for Ant while we have him?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Dude, you're awesome. Thank you very much. You had a lot of great coverage on
no problem.
on
one thing I don't know if you guys have to talk about, the Creo all Bumblebee.
Yes, about that. What's up with that?
What about?
He was what? So what?
Right.
So what was going on with that? Why? What's the point? What's the point of that What's the point of that combiner?
I don't know. There was really no signage to it, and there was no explanation of it. But there's an Optimus and a Bumblebee, I guess, to fit that combiner price point. And they're just combiners where there's a regular-sized Creon and then 4 limb Creons that are the mini-sized Creon, like the Frenzy and Rumble from the San Diego set. And they kind of, what we were trying to figure out is the Optimuses kind of seem like different era Optimuses. Like the main body is G1. One of the limbs is Movie. One of the limbs is probably RID, we think is RID from the original run. And one is RID from the current run. And there was a fourth we couldn't figure out. So they're kind of like through the ages. Oh, one was Armada because he had the chest plate, the grill on the chest. Oh. So I think they're various primes and bumblebees that combine into one mega-sized figure of one combiner-sized figure of Bumblebee and Optimus.
Interesting. It's pretty funny.
Now, was the combiner name actually Hive Mind, or was that just something the fans made up?
No, that was just me being silly. That was just me.
I like that, and I'm pitching that for official name.
That's pretty awesome. Cool. And how can people find you, by the way?
You can find me on if you go to the web at www.tfu.info. You can find me on Twitter at TFU_info, and Facebook, Facebook/TFU_info, and you can find me every so often on IRC.
Pretty sweet. Dude, thank you very much for coming on 2 years in a row and helping us out with it. Actually, 3 years in a row?
3 years in a row, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're my hero. Are you going to be at BotCon this year?
If it was in Chicago, I'd totally go. Since it's not, I'd probably not, but
okay.
You never know. If I do, I will be happy to call it.
Well, we'll be there too, so I just want to see you.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
No problem, guys. And I look forward to listening to the show.